Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the 5 money lessons I wish I had known at 18. Now that I am 27, the years have rolled on a little bit, and I've had some time to reflect on what I wish that I had known when I was very, very young. I've always had the interests that I've had now, but as time and maturity have worked their magic, I think I've realized and had some clarification on certain points, especially in regards to money and personal finance. The first tip I'd give my younger self is to think with a perspective that's long-term. Think with a perspective that is not just accounting for this next 6 months or year, but really think with a long time horizon in terms of investing. It's easy just to think around the next bend, even the next week, but money and compound interest really works best over a very long period of time. And all it takes is, doing a little bit of simple math to see how those compounding gains begin to really accelerate over time. I knew this at that age, and of course you're also limited just by the amount that you earn, which oftentimes, especially in my case, wasn't that much at the age of 18. But I wish that maybe I had dug into that just a little bit more and been a little more intense with my savings. I think being a little bit more intense and aggressive saving when I was young would have benefited me far more now. I just didn't have that sense to sacrifice some of those things then to have a bigger financial picture down the road. That leads in nicely to the second lesson I wish I had really locked into when I was 18, and that is to save early and to save as much as possible. When you're 18 and you're young, you're oftentimes still living with your parents and your expenses are like next to nothing. And so you have the opportunity to save so much money. Now, you might not be making that much money, but there are so many opportunities for you to stash away small amounts of cash that really over time can add up, whether that's birthdays or Christmases or those little jobs that you work. And actually, that's another thing I'd say. I really would encourage my younger self to be working jobs as much as possible. It's not always possible when you're in school or if you're getting very busy with other, extracurriculars or things like that. But I think a lesson I would definitely recommend to my younger self is to prioritize a job at all times and just save that money, put it away, and eventually invest it, which we'll talk about in a minute. Because you have no expenses, and in a sense, in a time value of money sense, that money at 18 is more valuable than any other dollar that you will ever earn. So if you can earn as much as you can, reasonably can at that age, and put it into the market and put it into investments, that money is going to work wonders for you down the road. The third money lesson that I really wish my younger self bought into heavily was invest. And when I say invest, I don't just mean invest monetarily, even though that is definitely one of the subpoints here. But I would say invest in assets, invest in the stock market, but also invest in yourself. Invest in developing yourself, developing your skill sets, developing your qualities and your character. Put time and effort and money into being the best person that you can be. If you do both of these things, you are starting the beginnings of a snowball effect. And the compound interest, so to speak, on both your assets and on your person, on your character, is going to just have tremendous growth over time. I think I had some of these lessons, woven in at a young age. I saw the beginnings of these lessons start to work in my life at that age. And I will say that the notion of personal development or improving oneself is probably one of the most profound lessons I've ever learned in my life. The idea that you can self-reflect and improve things about yourself that you think need improvement is so powerful. It gives you agency, and I just mean when I say agency, the notion that I have the ability to control my actions and to shape the outcomes. And having that sense of, I guess really what we want to call it is responsibility, is a life-changing tool to have in your toolkit. You take responsibility over the direction of your life, and it just has a profound sort of shaping on the outlook and the way that you see the world. So of course, invest in assets at a young age. All you have to do is look at a compound interest chart and see, oh yes, I should put as much money as possible, as soon as possible, into the market and let it work for me. But even more importantly, investing in myself and developing myself, I really would impress that lesson on my 18-year-old self. It is just such a powerful and really a beautiful lesson to learn early on. The fourth lesson I would desperately plead with my 18-year-old self to take to heart is to start a business, preferably an online business. And I would impart to my 18-year-old self the lessons I've learned along the way sitting here at 27, that starting isn't pretty, you just need to take action and everything else will come along the way. No one starts with a perfectly formed final product. They figured it out as they're going. And so don't be caught up by what other people may think or the idea that you don't even quite know where you're heading yet. Just begin. Get some sense of a business and maybe begin to create content, or it could be a business that's not on the internet. There are so many amazing opportunities out there to make money. I just think that the process of starting a business, and maybe even more importantly, creating something, building something at a young age is so rewarding. I think that building and then iterating on that building process is really foundational in a rewarding life. And so I would want my 18-year-old self to start that process a lot earlier than I really started doing it myself, sitting here at 27. The fifth lesson for my 18-year-old self would be very simple. Build credit early. Don't be scared of credit. Understand it as a tool and just build up that credit score at an early age so that when the time comes that you need it, it's available for you. I would take my 18-year-old self to the local credit union and just get them a very basic starter credit card and walk them through the fundamentals of good credit card management, and maybe just put 1 or 2 purchases on that card a month that they were already going to make when they're going to McDonald's with their friends or whatever I was doing at 18. And just pay it off immediately, and that's gonna set you up very, very well for when that moment comes that you do need credit down the road. It will be there available for you. That was something that I didn't necessarily do until much later in my own life. And although I was able to sort it out relatively quickly, I got a very simple and basic starter credit card and started building my credit, and it really does build rather quickly. Like within a year, I was good to go. I wish I had just done that earlier and not bought into some of those myths about credit being a terribly bad thing. Like most things in life, if you have principles, if you have rules about how you manage credit, you're going to be just fine. You need to live by your principles and live by your rules, and a credit card can actually be an incredible resource for you. I'd add one more little lesson in here, a 6th lesson for my young self, and it would be to spend on the things that really matter to you. And this is something I've picked up from Ramit Sethi. He talks a lot about this idea of spending lavishly on the things that he cares about and cutting savagely on the things that he doesn't care about at all. And I love that sort of reversal of the very penny-pinching sort of personal finance wisdom that we've received along the way. Really, you should spend on the things that you love the most, because otherwise, why do we have money? The point of money is to serve us and to serve our passions and desires and the things that we love. But one trap with money is that oftentimes we can get caught in a cycle of using it on things we really don't care about, oftentimes to impress other people or to sort of live up to a certain kind of cultural expectation or what have you. So we need to be self-aware in the way that we use money and really be a bit ruthless on not using it for the things we don't really care about. And this requires us to be in touch with our values. We have to really understand what we value. If you've never thought about that before, and this is me talking to my younger 18-year-old self, if you've never thought about what your values are, I would encourage you to sit down with a notebook or open a Google Doc and begin that process. And I would say it's probably going to be a lifelong process of writing out your values, tweaking them, critiquing them, adding some, removing others, as you begin to process and understand the complexities of this thing called life. Those are my 5 lessons I wish that I knew at the age of 18, with a 6th one thrown in there. I hope that you find those helpful. I think that money is a topic that we make very complicated, but really at its heart, it should be rather simple. If you're interested in personal finance or topics like productivity or personal growth, I do have a weekly newsletter that you can sign up for at calmills.substack.com, where I write on those sorts of topics and things that maybe don't always make the videos. So if you're interested in something like that, just click the link down below in the bio, and I think there will also be a little text here that pops up that you can type in. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for being along on this journey, and I will see you in the next video.